Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel, a safe space on the internet where you can shut your brain off for a few minutes and listen to me talk about something random before you move on with your day. And today, the subject that is going to be discussed in this video is Rob Lowe. Robbie Lowe. Robert Lozier.
Robert Lozier.
Rob Lowe has been an actor since he was 15 years old and has starred in one of my favorite shows of all time, Parks and Rec. In Parks and Rec, he played the lovable and eccentric Chris Traeger and starred alongside an incredible cast. But we are not here today to talk about Parks and Rec and why I think it's better than The Office. Ooh, you guys feel that? Feels like a hot take to me. No, but today we are going to be talking about Rob Lowe's insanely over-the-top game show, Mental Samurai. So, I don't really watch satellite TV anymore because why would I? You can now watch way better shows that are commercial free on streaming platforms. But since I don't watch satellite TV, the way I heard about this show was just because ads are always playing on the TVs at my gym for this show, and it just looks so over the top and ridiculous that I knew I had to make a video on it. So Mental Samurai premiered in 2019 and is described as an obstacle course for the mind. Which sounds pretty cool, but really all the show is a person getting strapped inside a giant metal ball on the end of a robot arm. And then they move around the room for a few seconds until they stop and have to answer a trivia question. The show is aired on CTV, or Fox for all you Americans out there. And honestly, the name and all the promotions for the show make it seem so much cooler than it is in practice, but we'll get to that in 1 second. But first, we gotta talk about this name. When I was first looking up information about this game show, I had a tough time finding stuff on it because I couldn't figure out what it was called, and I ended up just Googling Rob Lowe game show. I'm pretty sure that when the creators were trying to come up with a name for this show, they just started thinking up cool Japanese words that might appeal to an audience. Mental ninja. No, I don't like that one. Mental sensei. No, that doesn't sound right either. Mental samurai. Oh. Like in the episode of the show that I watched, it seemed like Rob was trying to say the name samurai as much as possible in order to justify why the show is called what it is.
Mental samurai. 4 towers of samurai. The circle of samurai. A mental samurai. The circle of samurai.
And much to my dismay, the show does not include any actual samurai fighting to the death on stage, nor does it have a samurai just standing off stage waiting on standby to straight up murder any contestant who gets an answer wrong. All right, for your next question, what is Scooby-Doo's full name? Oh, that's an easy one. It's Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Oh, I'm sorry, but that is incorrect. The correct answer is Scoobert-Doo. So, since Tom here got his question wrong, you know what that means, folks. It's time for the samurai to stab him until he's dead. Wait, what? Hacha! Ah! Yeah, now that would have been a fun game show. Probably would have been tough to find contestants after that first episode aired though. However, that is not at all what this show is like, so let's take a look at an episode of Mental Samurai. So the show begins with an introduction from Rob Lowe, one of the most lovable actors in all of Hollywood.
How fucking long have I not been on television?
Rob, this is good news.
What's good news? That this hasn't been on TV for 5 fucking months?
Ah, my face!
That clip was just from a comedy skit. To my understanding, he is actually a pretty nice guy in person. Anyway, after his brief introduction, we are introduced to the contestants one at a time who are already hooked up to the rig, which is called Ava. There are 5 contestants in each week's episode, with 4 of these people being brand new, and one of them being the returning winner from the previous week. So once Rob has a short chat with the first contestant, God, I wish that was me talking to Rob. The game begins and the contestant gets spun around the room until Ava stops in front of a screen with the question on it. The way a contestant wins this game is either by answering more questions correctly than their opponents, or by answering the questions in a faster time. The first contestant only managed to get 4 questions right, but still somehow did better than her next 2 opponents. So she ended up staying the reigning samurai for a lot longer than I expected. Also, I'm not sure if she did this on her own or if the producers told her to do it, but pretty well every time the camera would cut to her, she would do these awkward little fist pumps or cheers for herself, and honestly, it made it really hard to root for her. But after the 2 contestants who couldn't beat her score, we have the contestant who was the whole reason for me picking this episode in the first place, Scott. Scott manages to get all 10 questions correct in a pretty short amount of time, so he is the new reigning samurai. Then right after Scott, we get this dude who goes on about how he isn't smart, but he is clever, and he manages to instantly get the first question wrong, and it was hilarious. Finally, our last contestant is the previous winner from last week's episode, who is like a NASA scientist or something, I think. But anyway, she manages to do pretty well, except that she messes up on the final question, so Scott is the winner, and he gets the chance to move on to the next round for the chance to win 100,000 smackaroonies. So Scott only gets 4 minutes to answer 10 questions correctly, and my man Scott manages to do it. Nobody thought he would be the one to win.
Tonight, a guy who married his cat beat someone with an IQ of 155.
In this episode, he went up against an Army veteran, the NASA scientist, and the guy who claims that he was clever. And Scott managed to pull through and win, and honestly, good for him. Alright, so this show is not anything that special as far as game shows go. It's not the next Jeopardy, it's not the next Price is Right, but they did manage to take a generic trivia game and make it super visually appealing by adding Ava. And I have to assume that being spun around in that thing makes it pretty hard to concentrate, because like 90% of the questions that I saw in this episode were stupid easy compared to some of the other game shows. I don't want it to seem like I'm calling the contestants who messed up on their questions stupid, because obviously there's a lot of pressure being on TV with Rob Lowe staring at you with his dreamy eyes. Oh God, don't mess up. However, the clever guy that I keep on referencing, he managed to mess up the phrase, roses are red, violets are blue.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm gonna go R, blue, and violets. Rock it in.
Fail.
So apparently this show went through a lot of changes from its first to second season. In its first season, the contestants had to answer all 10 questions correctly in order to be eligible to move on to the bonus round where they get the chance to win the $100,000. But in the second season, they changed it so only the contestant who either got the most questions correctly or did it in the shortest amount of time got to advance. And judging by the performance from half the people in that episode I just watched, who could not even make it past question 5, I think this was a really good change. Well folks, it looks like tonight is another episode where nobody gets to compete for the 100 grand because none of our contestants were able to get 10 questions right. I know this sucks, but apparently we overestimated the intelligence of strangers we find on the internet who wanted to compete in this show. I guess I just have to keep the 100 grand this week too. Oh darn. Also, I must say that this show is pretty generous with the money they give out to the contestants. Like in the first round, every question that a person gets correctly, they get to win $500 even if they end up losing. I think it would be smarter if only the reigning samurai was allowed to keep the money they won, but hey, I guess that's why I'm not in the game show business. So in conclusion, Rob Lowe is a great host, the game is a lot more visually appealing than most other game shows, and the questions are easy enough so you can play along at home and make fun of all the contestants who get questions wrong. I would actually recommend that you check out this game show because even though it's nothing extraordinary, it's a chance for you to shut your brain off and watch something that is semi-entertaining. It's like my YouTube channel of game shows. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed staring into Rob Lowe's beautiful eyes while he hosted. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing to this channel because it really helps me out a lot, and I really hope to see you guys in my next video.